Smith is an award-winning Canadian author, described by Library Journal as one of Canada's most original writers of speculative fiction. His fiction appeared in 25 languages and over 30 countries. His work includes the urban fantasy novel The Wolf at the End of the World, and the collections Chimeroscope, Impossibilia, and the translated collection La Danse des Esprits. His non-fiction guide for writers, Playing the Short Game, How to Market and Sell Short Fiction, is a must-read for any short story writer. Doug is a 3-time winner of Canada's Aurora Award and has been finalist for the John W. Campbell Award, CBC's Bookies Award, Canada's Juried Sunburst Award, and France's Juried Prix Masterson and Prix Bob Moraine. A short film based on Doug's story, By Her Hand She Draws You Down, won several awards at film festivals and around the world. So let's welcome Doug.
The story, By Her Hand She Draws You Down. It's one of the few horror stories I've written, and I figure October will be the next one to do a horror story. I'll also mention one other thing. I recently picked up a paying comic writing gig, which is quite cool. Unfortunately, I can't really tell you anything about it because they haven't officially done the big announcement, but it's going to be a tie-in. Comics are going to be a tie-in to a new CBC television series, so it's quite cool. I'm quite excited. This will be the first time I've done anything in comics. Okay, so this is a short horror story. Maria just waved when I've gone too long, okay? By Her Hand, She Draws You Down. Joe swore when he saw Kath doing a kid. He had left her for just a minute to get a beer from the booth on the pier before it closed for the night. Walking back now, he could see Kath on her stool, sketch pad on a knee, ocean breeze blowing her pale hair. A small girl sat on another stool facing her. A man and a woman, parents he guessed, beside the child. Kid's not more than 7, he thought. Kath promised me no kids. She promised. The sun was long set and the air had turned cool, but people were still filled the boardwalk. Joe wove through the crowd as fast as he could without attracting attention. Kath had set up farther from the beach tonight, at the bottom of a grassy slope that ran up to the highway, where their old gray Ford waited. Last night, tonight, Kath had said when they parked the car earlier, it wants to move on. I can feel the change. Joe had swallowed and turned off the ignition. He was never comfortable talking about it. Where's it headed? Kath had just shaken her head, grinning. Dunno. That's part of the fun, isn't it? Not knowing where we're going next. That's fun, isn't it, Joe? Yeah, loads of fun, he thought now as he approached Kath and her customers. It had been fun once when they'd met, before he learned what Kath did, what she had to do. When his love for her wasn't all mixed up with fear of what she would do to someone else, or to him. The child's parents looked up as Joe came to stand beside Kath. The father frowned. Joe smiled, trying to hide the dread digging like cold fingers into his gut. Turning his back to them, he bent to whisper in Kath's ear. That flowery scent that she'd switched to recently rose warm and sweet in his face. Funeral parlors, he thought. She smells like a goddamn funeral parlor. Kath, she's just a kid, he rasped in her ear. Kath shook her head. Her eyes flitted from the girl to her pad. Bad night. I'm hungry, she muttered, ignoring Joe. Joe looked at the drawing. It was good, but they were always good. Kath had real talent, more than Joe ever had. She would set up each night where people strolled, her sketches beside her like trophies from a hunt. People would stop to look, sometimes moving on, sometimes sitting for a portrait. Eventually Joe and Kath would move on too. When the town was empty, Kath said, when the thing inside her wanted to move on. They had spent this week at a little New England vacation spot. At least they were heading south lately. Summer was dying and Joe longed to winter in the sun. Sleep for Joe was rare enough since he'd met Kath. Winters up north meant long nights in bars. Things closed in around him. On those nights he would lie awake in their motel bed, feeling Kath's eyes on him, feeling her hunger. He looked at the sketch, at the child captured there, perfect except for the emptiness that spoke from the eyes, from any eyes that Kath drew, and the mouth. Where the mouth should have been empty paper gaped, Kath left the mouth until the end. The portraits always bothered Joe when they looked like that. To him, the pictures weren't waiting to be completed, waiting for a last piece to be added. To Joe, something vital had been ripped from what had once been whole, leaving behind a void that threatened to suck in the world around it. An empty thing, but insatiable, waiting to suck him in too. Kath, he whispered, you promised. She ignored him again. Joe wrapped his fingers around the thin wrist of her hand that held the sketch pad. You promised. Kath snapped her head up around to glare up at him. Joe caught his breath as anger met hunger in her gray eyes, became something alive, something I'd left for him. The father cleared his throat, and the thing in Kath's eyes retreated. Kath turned to the parents. Sorry, can't get her right. You can have this. Tearing the sketch from her pad, she shoved it at the mother. We gotta go. Kath stood and folded her stool as the child ran to peek from behind the father's legs. Joe grabbed the other stool in a canvas bag that held Kath's supplies. He put an arm around Kath's waist, leading her away. The father started to protest. But you're almost done. You just need to draw in the mouth. Kath stopped, and Joe swore. He just wanted to get her out of there. She walked back to the man who exchanged glances with his wife. Kath touched a finger to her lips. Mouths are the hardest part, the most important part, she said. Everyone, they say, oh, the eyes are the windows of the soul. They say, oh, you got the eyes just right. They don't know. They don't know it's the mouth you got to get just right. That's what makes a picture come alive, like it's just going to start breathing. The father cleared his throat, but the mother tugged at his shirt. Joe grabbed Kath's arm and pulled her away. The man muttered something, but Joe didn't care. He led Kath to a gravel path that switched back and forth up the steep hill to the highway above. Halfway up, an observation area looked down on the pier and the beach and the boardwalk. Kath twisted away from him there. A low stone wall ran around the area's edge, and 2 lampposts stood at either end. Putting her stool down under the nearest light, she began setting out her sketches against the wall. Joe dropped the other stool and sat down. The fatigue that lived with him always now rose to engulf him. He felt dead inside, all used up, like the way Kath's pictures made him feel, waiting to be sucked into the void. We had a deal, he said. Kath sat looking up and down the path. I'm hungry. No kids, remember, Joe said, and nobody with a family depending on him. He tried to make his voice sound strong, but his hands were shaking. She opened her pad. Kind of cuts down the field, Joe. Use one of the sketches you put away. Kath laughed, a bitter, empty sound. Joe imagined the mouths that she drew making that kind of sound. She looked at him finally. All gone. Used them all. Joe felt the emptiness again of the void gaping below, drawing him down. He leaned forward, head between his hands, fingers pressing hard on his temples, trying to make his fear go away. Geez, Kath, all of them? He searched her face for some hope. Kath shrugged. Girls got to eat. She stared past him, and he heard gravel crunching underfoot. Joe turned, his hand slipping by reflex to touch the switchblade inside his boot toe. A fat man in black pants, white shirt, and paisley tie, loosened at the neck, was struggling down a steep path from the highway, a beach chair in each arm. He walked over to the stone wall and put down the chairs to rest. Nodding at Joe and Kath, he glanced at their sketches. He began to turn away, but then looked back. His eyes ran over the portraits, lined against the low wall like prisoners before a firing squad. The man whistled. Joe sighed from regret and relief. Kath would eat tonight. Let's stop there. Anything, really, except the Blue Jays. It's just too soon.
I'll start it off actually with a question that I have, and I was wondering what's your writing process?
Random, I guess. I still have a day job. When I do write, sort of my ideal writing day is I'll get up, I'll get to usually a library, the Angus Glen Library, actually, sometimes a coffee shop. About 10 o'clock to 11, I'll have my coffee with me, and then I'll try to, a good day I find, especially if I'm doing a first draft, not editing, is 5 hours. I find in more than 5 hours my brain turns to mush if I'm trying to do do new words. I try to just keep writing when I'm doing a first draft. I don't. I'm a fiddler. I will write something and I'll go back and read it and fix it, not from editing, but more that, am I confident that this is the way I want this chapter to go, this scene to go, etc. And I tend to start a new way of writing the same way. I'll go back over what I read yesterday. Sometimes I'll tweak it a bit. Part of it's just to get me started. Part of it is, again, still the confidence that, okay, yeah, this story is still working. I can keep going the way I planned. Something like that. Marilyn?
Do you do a story outline before you start to write, or do you just sort of let it flow?
I started 20 years ago with short stories, and now I'm working exclusively on novels. When I started writing, I probably had an outline for the short story, which ended up being like 7,500 words. For a short story now, no, I can hold it in my head. The first novel I wrote, I had a very detailed outline. Big Excel spreadsheet, scene by scene, who the point of view character is. I check on, the average chapter lengths and everything, and have I got, a good mix on I tend to write multiple point of view characters on my novels, short fiction too. I've just finished my second novel. I'm about a third of the way through my third. The second novel was absolutely the most fun writing experience I've ever had. No outline. I just dove in. I had a cool idea, and I just dove in and took it where it took me. And it took me places where I'm writing, oh, okay, I guess I have a new character. So it was more fun. I'm now doing a second novel, and it's a trilogy, an urban fantasy, young adult urban fantasy trilogy. I'm doing a second novel. I'm trying to do it the same way. It's not going as smoothly. I'm trying to resist doing an outline, but what I did with the first one is I put what I called the tent posts, what my big scenes were. I knew what I wanted to do in the first act. I tend to do a 3-act structure. I knew what the big conclusion, the big surprise at the end of Act 1 was, what the main focus in Act 2, and what the big surprise at the end of Act 2 would be, and I knew what the climax would be. So I just I need to have targets. Even on short fiction, I've often written the very last scene in the short story first. It's fun, it gives me a target. I know I can't go wrong if I know I have to end up there, so stop going over there, because you've got to be there by the end. So, but I tend not to do detailed outlines anymore.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's just me. And when I started writing, my favorite part of going to these gatherings was asking writers that question, what is your process? And back then it was, oh, there's a secret. I'm going to find out what the secret is. And then I quickly learned there is no secret. Everyone has their own process. If it works for you, use it. There is no wrong process unless you're not creating words. That's wrong. But yeah, a lot of it is you just, after you talk to 20 authors and you hear 20 different processes, you go, yeah, okay. Sir, do you have a question?
Can you tell me about characters?
Wow, that's a good question. I guess there's some writers who are plot-driven. I'm character-driven. I cannot start a story unless I know who my characters are and why they're in the story and what their problems are. The fun novel I just mentioned, I had, it's young adult urban fantasy, so I got a male protagonist, 17 years old, and a female protagonist about the same age. And I was writing one scene from the female's point of view. And I had it, and she's like, she's a street kid, very independent, very strong-willed. And I had it basically where the guy was being the hero and saving her from danger. And I could just hear her screaming at me. So I said, okay, you're right. You wouldn't let him do that. So flips around, she just kind of steps up and saves the day herself. So for me, I'm always, the biggest decision for me is for a scene, I want to have this scene, who is the correct character? Whose point of view should I be in? Because I think point of view is the most important decision you can make. Writing any scene, writing any chapter, writing any story. And I start with my characters. I'm usually, on this one I was pretty lucky, I just knew the characters. They showed up pretty fully formed, and new ones kept showing up pretty fully formed too, and it was great. The only trouble I've ever gotten in, actually in the first novel. When I started it, I had to rewrite the first probably quarter of it. And it was the weirdest thing because it was a character I'd written in the novelette. The novel is a continuation of the novelette. And I figured, well, there's going to be one character I will have no trouble with because it's the hero from the novelette. And that was the one. And I had him in too comfortable a spot. So once you put him into a really horrible life situation again, he was far too happy. I made him miserable and everything went fine